This soldier right here is Private Travis King, and to my knowledge, he's the only US Army soldier to escape into North Korea and get kicked out of North Korea within a matter of months. When this all came out, where Travis King tried to escape into North Korea, it was massive news. Everyone was shocked, and everyone definitely thought that Travis King would never make it out of North Korea alive. But here we are. Travis King is back in the United States, facing a court-martial, and I just wanted to get caught up to speed on what exactly is happening to Travis King and sort of look back into how Travis King managed to get kicked out of a country. I mean, who would have ever thought getting kicked out of a country probably saved his life? Okay, so first things first, Private Travis King was stationed or doing a rotation in South Korea, where allegedly and apparently, and again, I don't know Travis King personally, but I'm only going based off the reports, he hated the duty station. He just simply was not the greatest soldier. He punched out a South Korean. He destroyed a South Korean cop car, and Travis King was unfortunately already down a very destructive path as a soldier. And just so you guys are aware, I'm truly not trying to judge Travis King. I didn't know or don't know his mental state, but for you to already be punching out, foreigners like South Koreans and busting out cop cars, that's almost inexcusable. I mean, I used to have my own soldiers, and if any of my own soldiers did that, they would be facing Article 15s or Uniform Code of Military Justice actions. Now again, I'm just recapping Travis King's story in South Korea before we head back stateside so that we can remember what Travis King went through and how we ended up to where he is today. So again, Travis King was actually being sent to an airport to where from that airport, he was going to be flown back to the United States and be facing punishment for his actions, the things he was doing in South Korea. Now, from the airport, Travis King was actually left alone, and then he walked over to the DMZ where he blended in with a group of tourists, and then apparently, allegedly, from the group of tourists, here's what they said, he ran across into North Korean territory laughing and yelling, almost like he was excited to be there, and then of course the North Koreans detained him immediately. Now, the crazy part about this story is that the US military, the DoD, refused to give Travis King any sort of POW status, prisoner of war status. And when you don't give somebody a prisoner of war status, that's a really big deal because when somebody is a prisoner of war, you put them on the highest level of status to do whatever it takes to get them back. However, the Department of Defense did say, look, Travis King is still a U.S. asset. He's still a U.S. soldier regardless of what he did. We are going to do whatever it takes to get him back. However, it was rather weird that he wasn't a POW, but he was being treated as a POW. Now, for the 2 months Travis King was being detained, and I was even one of the people reporting on this, everyone, including myself, truly thought Travis King was going to be paraded around North Korea as a war trophy, saying, look, we have a U.S. soldier, North Korea can make up any narrative they want. And to have actual access to a living U.S. soldier, and not only that, a black U.S. soldier, we'll get to that in a second, why race matters to North Korea, it was a really big deal for him to be captured by the North Koreans. Now, the reason why I mentioned Travis King was black, it's not me saying it was actually North Korea. North Korea media put out a statement from Travis King on how he was being treated unfairly for the color of his skin, and North Korea has historically been known to actually put out media publications talking about the racism in America and stuff like that. I know it's rather bizarre coming from North Korea, but I assure you, go ahead and fact check me and look it up. North Korea has always been very critical about the United States' racism, which is really random, considering North Korean leadership made fun of President Obama for being black. So that's why, there's a bit of conflicting issue here, but nonetheless, the fact that Travis King is black or is a black soldier, it was a big deal to North Korea, and they tried to formulate a narrative around it. Now, from here again, we get a 2-month period of almost a silent period. Once in a while, a little bit of news would come out about Travis King that he is still alive, but the US government refused to give any information on the status of Travis King. All they would say is, yes, we are trying to get in contact with Travis King, we're trying to negotiate, and that's all we know. However, a big part of the story that nobody knew about, and this is why I'm talking about it, is that the Swedish government was actually a massive pawn in this entire situation, where the Swedish government, they were actually in charge of getting Travis King from North Korea into China, and then from China, Travis King was flown to a military hospital in Texas. Now, there's no information as to how or why Sweden was involved, but it goes to show that a lot of times behind the scenes, you have government governments and allies of the United States that play a very crucial role in mediation process. I'm going to defer this point over to the war in Israel, where right now the country of Qatar is actually in the mediation process between Israel and Hamas. And right now the United States is talking through Qatar, who has access to Hamas, to hopefully get more U.S. citizens back out of the custody of Hamas. My point is, and why I'm trying to even bring this up, is that a lot of random countries who you would never think about, they sometimes play the biggest roles in the mediation team or the retrieval of an asset to a country. Now, what's rather interesting about this case with Travis King is that nobody really knows what his treatment was like in North Korea. There was no statement from the King family, and there was no statement from the US government. All we do know is that when the plane landed and the video footage of Travis King walking down the plane and meeting up with his captors, if you will, it looks like he was being treated okay. But that is to be expected. You're not about to go and knife hand a soldier and make him do push-ups when he was presumably being held in one of the worst conditions and one of the scariest countries in the world. I thought that was a very interesting part of all of this, that nobody knows what Travis King went through, and that could play a massive, crucial role in this entire case. Because look, now we are at the part of the story where he's in the United States and he's going to be facing trial. Okay, so Travis King actually has an abundance of charges against him. King was accused of soliciting a Snapchat user for illegal pictures, if you know what I mean. I can't say it on here. He was also charged with insubordination for leaving his base after a curfew and drinking alcohol in violation of Army regulations, stuff like that. And so, again, he has an abundance of charges against him. Treason is not one of them. That would have been the biggest punishment, which technically could be held under a capital punishment. I don't think that would have ever happened, but going back to where Travis King was not being called a prisoner of war, all of these charges will not get wiped away. These will all stick with Travis King, and he's going to have to fight against the fact of not only is he facing charges before what he did, punching a South Korean in the face, destroying a cop car, now running away into a country and causing, all of this chaos. Travis King is going to be facing the punishments. Now look, here's where things get juicy and why King's lawyer is actually pretty famous. King's family has hired a legal team to defend him that includes Franklin Rosenblatt, who served as the lead military defense counsel during court-martial proceedings against Bo Bergdahl. Now, if you're not aware, Bo Bergdahl is definitely a massive trigger word for any veterans who fought in Afghanistan. Bergdahl was an army sergeant who was held for 5 years by the Taliban after walking off of his post in Afghanistan 2009. Unfortunately, there were casualties because of him actually looking out for him. Bergdahl was classified as a prisoner of war, but then later turns out he just abandoned his post and walked away. So this is quite the plot twist to hire the Bo Bergdahl team in favor of Travis King. I mean, when I was reporting on Travis King, the only case I could somewhat relate this to was Bo Bergdahl. Nonetheless, though, Bo Bergdahl was operating in the capacity of a combat zone, and back in 2009, things were actually really heated up. It wasn't like towards the end of the Afghanistan war where things were sizzling down and the Taliban were actually willing to talk to the United States. Back then in 2009, we saw a lot of casualties, a lot of fighting. So look, U.S. soldiers were motivated to go and find Bergdahl. In fact, the U.S. military even made the point the main reason why Travis King was not being called a prisoner of war is because although, yes, we are technically at war with North Korea, we are not in active combat with North Korea. So legally, it would be very difficult to actually classify Travis King as a prisoner of war. Now, in my opinion, I do think Travis King will end up going to prison for the desertion. However, Travis King could probably get away with some sort of mental note. Bo Bergdahl sort of did get a pass to where he was being held by the Taliban for 5 years, and that was punishment enough. That was always the story for Bergdahl. I don't know if Travis King will get the same treatment as far as court goes, but we'll see. This is an ongoing case, and look, the family of Travis King, they actually seem really cool. They're really sticking up for him, and if any one of us were in the shoes of Travis King, you would want a family to stick up for you, but I think the family is going to do whatever it takes to stick up for their other family member. I do think Travis King is guilty. I don't want to judge him or hate on him if he did have mental issues or was struggling with something. I think anyone who's ever served in the U.S. military has struggled with something, thing, but for you to run away into North Korea, that is like, man, that is wild. I could never imagine that. Nonetheless, I'm going to try and keep you all updated with the Travis King story and controversy, because again, this is ongoing, and I would be shocked if Travis King did not get prison time. I mean, he literally deserted his post and he ran away to the most dangerous country in the world and he got kicked out.